Shalom. Okay. Um, what I'm gonna do today is a little something different to bring forth some information that was produced by author Timothy R. Jenkins. He was born in 1821. It was originally published in 1883, and it's called "The 10 Tribes of Israel, or the True History of the North American Indians," showing that they are the descendants of these 10 tribes. So, and I looked up Arthur Jenkins, and he appears to be Caucasian race. It's the book right here. And of course, as I start to do it, I prepare scriptures were presented. I added scriptures and information before we went to the book. Since this is my first one that I'm going to do like this in a while, because I have done information on a book in the past, but because I'm going to do this one, as I was looking through, it was just scattered information. So I was going to go ahead and try to just put down footnotes and go along. Is that like that? But it was just too much good information spread about. So I probably will just go ahead and read it, and then maybe make a part one, part two, or part three if need be to finish the book, share the information. So, like anything else, you've learned a lot. The Israelite nation, many of you already have a lot of information that you already know. So I'm just doing my part to bring out information you may or may not know, or this might be a refresher. And then, of course, we already have an understanding that no one can find something. We already know that Christopher Columbus did not find the Americas. As we'll, and even in this book right here, other nations that tell the story, they may tell the truth, but they always tend to, and there's no disrespect, maybe this is just human nature. They always tend to put in their perspective to make it seem like they were here too. You know what I mean? Like, for instance, I was reading, it said Christopher Columbus found this place. Let me go ahead and read it, and then we'll go ahead. But let me start off with this. Once again, the 10 tribes of Israel are the history of the North American Indians, showing that they are the descendants of these 10 tribes, by Timothy R. Jenkins, originally published 1883. The writings begin by quoting from the Apocrypha. Second Esdras, if I'm not mistaken, is that 13, 40 and 45, to show when the 10 tribes left Eastern country to come to a land not inhabited by man. See right there, it already says that the Israelites came to a place that was not inhabited by man. So how can Christopher Columbus find it if they already there or here? These are the 10 tribes which were carried away prisoner out of their own land in times of Osea the king, whom Salmanasar, the king of Assyria, led away captive, and he carried them over to the waters. And so came they into another land. But they took counsel among themselves that they would leave the multitude of the heathen and go forth into a further country that was a great way to go, namely of a year and a half. And the same region is called Asareth. Now, what we are to learn from the foregoing history, first, we are taught that they understand the geography of the country and the distance they must travel in order to get to this land where no man dwelt. And second, that there was no country in the east, but what more or less inhabited by man. And consequently, America was the only country at the time known that is not inhabited. Jewish Encyclopedia by Morris Jastrow Jr., Kaufman, and Kohler. Now, what I would say, and the Most High is in control of all things. So by not judging man, but just knowing the nature of man, will tend to change things in their favor by writing this. What but at the same time, I appreciate that the Most High, because he knows the future, would cause such men who are scholars and different ones to provide and keep this information that would lead today to come to the light to bring truth to who we are. So once again, this is the Jewish Encyclopedia by Morris Jastrow Jr. and Kaufman, and Kohler. The name of the land beyond the great river, far away from the habitation of man, which the 10 tribes of Israel will dwell, observing the laws of Moses until the time of the restoration. According to, they said Columbus identified America with this land. C. Castlery, Christopher Columbus, translated by Dr. C. Gross, page 15. Then I went to Deuteronomy 28:37. And thou shalt become an astonishment, a proverb, and a byword among all nations, whither Yah shall lead thee. 1828 Dictionary Webster. Black, now that which is destitute of light or whiteness, the darkest color, or rather destitution of a color, as a cloth has a good black. 1. A Negro, a person whose skin is black. Negro. Now, it is remarkable that our common people retain the exact Latin prescription of this word, nigger. A nigger. A native or a descendant of the black race, of a man in Africa. And then, like I said, a lot of the brothers are bringing out that there a lot of people that don't really want to tell the truth always want to associate the American Israelite, the so-called Negro, and all these other bywords that the Most High said they would call us, with Africa. But many of us never stepped foot in Africa, especially the ones that were born here, because we were the first people here in the Americas. And there's a lot of pertinent information, like I'm reading to you today, that tells you that many of us was already here. So we were everywhere. We were the people that occupied the world at the very beginning. Now we do have some brethren that's in Africa. They're Israelites, but many of us was already here in these Americas. We're the first ones on this land, and this is not me telling something that isn't true. It's just documented. Many of us won't believe unless a European tell us the truth. So the Most High left it that the Europeans left evidence that we were the first over in Africa, and we're the first here in the Americas and many other places. But right now I'm talking about the Americas. Now, like I said, it is my intent to always tell the truth. So, of course, we have to read into documents, and like I said, there's some that will doctor the document to make it look in their favor, but there's just too much information now that proves that we are who we are, the Israelites. And then I'm going to also share a scripture. There's a lot of arguments within our even own community. People say, no, I'm an Egyptian. People say, no, I'm a Moor. People say, I'm this, I'm Afro American. People say all kinds of things that's in our community that brings strife among each other. But what I will say is that the Most High, creator of all things, says we're Israelites, so I'm going to take his word for it. That's why I say I'm an Israelite. My family, my immediate family, my ancestors, and I don't have to reach that far back. My grandfather, father side, Louisiana. Father side, mother side. Grandfather on mother side, Oklahoma. Grandmother on my father's side, Arkansas. grandmother on my mother's side. I hear the same region of Oklahoma, Louisiana. Some might say I'm an Indian. And I've gone through that debate. Okay, all right, I'm Washita, I'm Cherokee, I'm Choctaw, and all these things. And I can see it in me. But guess what? I don't need to go through all that with man callers. And then sometimes people say, well, no, you're more. And I was watching, because I listen to a lot of people talk just to gain information. So I was watching the Martin Lawrence movie the other night called Dark Knight. And then they kept calling him Moore in there. Because a lot of these Israelites were called Moors. But then when I heard some Moors talking one time, I heard one talking saying he was a Moabite. I said, no, I'm not a Moabite. And then I heard him say that he worshipped the Baphomet and he was kissing it. Because we don't understand that. I said, well, I'm definitely not a Moabite, and I'm not that type of Moor, because I don't worship the Baphomet. I worship the Almighty Creator, Yah. And then I came to information that were in the Book of Ruth, and there are some brothers that are teaching that the Moabites are today they're the Japanese and the Chinese. That may be true, because a lot of people were changed now. Like I said, a lot of the original Europeans were, from my understanding, they called them Moors, which were dark skinned people as well. And then some people say, well, actually, we're the Israelites that ruled Europe at the time. There's a lot of information out there. But then I came across the Book of Ruth. And then just by coincidence, my dad, my natural dad was named Malin. So just by coincidence, I'm reading the story of Ruth. And then Ruth was married to the Malin of the scriptures, who was a Israelite. And Ruth was a Moabite. And then Malin's brother was Chilion, who was an Israelite. And he was married to a Moabite woman named Orpah. Was that correct? Orpah? Yeah, I believe so. So when those two passed away, Naomi was trying to persuade them to go back to their own people. So she convinced Orpah to go back to her own people. So Orpah never had any children by Israelite men. So I can assume that when she went back to her people, she had some more Moabite children. But Ruth said, no, your people should be my people, and your Elo should be my Yah. And because of that act of faith, on Ruth's behalf, she caused Ruth to go ahead and glean in the field of Boaz, who was a kinsman of Malin and was also well off and wealthy. So by the grace of Yah, he used that union to create down the line King David and so forth, down to the Hamashiach. She also joined the mighty house of Judah. So there's a possibility that they got some people that they call Moors that are truly Israelites, and then some other Moors that are Moabites. Because it's not that far-fetched, because Lot was Abraham's nephew anyway. So we are from the line of Shem. And then I'm going to show you a little how the Hamashiach even breaks it down a little further. Just because you're an Israelite, you still have to keep his father's commandments. All right, I kind of went ahead of myself. Let me go ahead and read this. And thou shalt become an astonishment and a proverb and a byword. This was Deuteronomy 28:37. Among all nations, whither Yah shall lead thee. 1828 dictionary, we talked about black color, A Negro, talk about the Negro, that's a byword. Y'all never call us a Negro. A person whose skin is black. Negro. But what I will say, all of these bywords, they can't take the words back now, has actually proven who we are. Because you can't say, oh, I didn't mean that. Nah, no, I wasn't really saying that you was a nigga. No disrespect. This is adults here. I'm just using words. I didn't mean to say that you was a nigga on that point, but what I was trying to say, no, you know what you're talking about? The bywords. That proves who we are, because that's what the Most High said. One time I worked at a location, and this young man, he didn't really have all his mind together, so he basically, while we was at work, he just turned around and was like, "You a nigga, you a nigga, you a nigga, you a nigga." But I understood, I didn't understand, but I understood that he had an issue. So I just let him go ahead and do what he wants to do. So no problem. I didn't say nothing to him because I'm at work and they're patient. But all these bywords actually, and everything he said, although they meant it for evil, everything they do that they meant for evil for us, it turns out for our good. Like even right now, all these bywords prove who we are. That's not who we are. That's who they say we are. The Most High said we Israelites. But yet and still all those bywords and all those things prove, all those curses and all those things prove who we are. But I'm talking about the blessings now, where the Most High is taking us. Negro, now remarkable that our own common people retain the exact Latin pronunciation of this word, a native or descendant of the black race. Because that's even questionable. A black race? That's another byword. There's no such thing as a black race. Of men in Africa. We ain't never been to Africa. Like I said, many of us never came from Africa. Although they are our brothers. Certainly of them, the ones from Shem, from the Israelite tribes. Yeah, that's our brothers. But we on both sides. Even now, like I read a word. I don't profess to be an Ethiopian, but there's a such word as Ethiop. You can also look that word up. He talked about a righteous people from the land that rises from the east to the land that sets in the west. It's where the sun rises in the east and sets in the west. Calls them Ethiopians, dark-skinned brothers and women. So they have all kind of terms to describe us, but it already tell you some of us from a land where the sun arises, some of us are from a land where the sun sets. You can look that up. That's verifiable. So no man can really challenge it unless they just evil or want to change the scripts. You can't change the word. The word is truth. Then I talked about a time where I said, well, Hamashiach said, I am the way. He showed you the way. I am the truth, and I'm the life. So wherever you find the truth, you found him. You don't have to say his name on it because he's the truth. You can find, like this book right here, there's going to be a lot of truth in there. And I agree with some other brothers that this, because it said during this time, truth shall prevail. He said more and more truth should come forth. How you going to do that? Yeah, of course he can come down and he can download you with truth. But he can bring forth these books that we didn't know about that were the other European men, and that wrote these things. Tell us what's going on. And we got to, and then once we come about and start having an establishment, okay, we already know about this. So then, as other truth come back, it supports that. Now that plugs into this. We gonna get rid of that because that's kind of fluff. but it adds up to this, so that's the truth. Okay, let's get rid of that. We know he didn't find nothing because you can't find nothing if somebody is there. All right, let's get rid of that. So we're intelligent people, so we can do that. All right, and it says the word is never applied to uh, tawny or olive-colored inhabitants of the northern coast of Africa, but to the more southern race of men who are quite black. That's 1828 dictionary for Negro or black. Byword, Hebrew, Melo, job, Hebrew, Milo, job 39, a word or a speech, and hence object of talk. Hebrew, Marshall, Psalms 44:14, a proverb or a parable, when it denotes a sharp word or derision, as in Deuteronomy 28:7, 1 King 9, and 2. Oh no, it wasn't. 1 Kings 9 and 7, I believe it was. And then Second Chronicles 7 and 20. It says the Hebrew Shemaiah is used. In Jeremiah 24:9, it is rendered taunt. So basically, these bywords are used for them to taunt us. That's what they were used for. But I do know this for a fact, man. There are some, and I believe those will be the people that the Most High will allow to come into the new Jerusalem, that are from other nations that will cling to us, because there's some that wants to help us so earnestly right now, even to their own detriment. But that's the spirit of the Most High that lead them to do that. Job 30:1-9. But now they are younger than I, have me in derision. But now they that are younger than I have me in derision, whose fathers I would have disdained to have set with the dogs of my flock. Yea, whereto might the strength of their hand profit me, in whom old age was perished, for want and famine. They were solitary, fleeing into the wilderness, in former time desolate and waste, who cut up marble by the bushes, and juniper root for their meat. They were driven forth from among men. They cried after them as after a thief, to dwell in the cliffs of the valley, in caves of the earth, and in the rocks. Among the bushes they brayed, under the nettles they were gathered together. They were children of fools, yea, children of base men. They were viler than the earth. And now I am their song, yea, I am their byword. And also, this is also they've been put out there, because the same people that use these bywords against us, they say they're younger than us. Deuteronomy 32:21. They have moved me to jealousy with that which is not God. They have provoked me to anger with their vanities. And I will move them to jealousy with those which are not a people. I will provoke them to anger with a foolish nation. Romans 10:19. But I say, did not Israel know? First Moses said, I will provoke you to jealousy by them that are no people, and by a foolish nation I will anger you. Reproach now. Censor mingled with contempt or derision. Contumelious or opprobrious. language towards any person, abusive, reflection as foul-mouthed, reproach, shame, infamy, disgrace, object of contempt, scorn, or derision. Remember the scripture in Psalms, do not sit in the seat of the scornful. Object of contempt, scorn, or derision has come. And let us build up the wall of Jerusalem, that we may be no more a reproach. See, he wants us to come back to being who we are called to be, Israelites. So we got all these names of reproach that we fight to hold on to, because that's been the tradition that we were told. And we were told that we were Indians. Who called us Indians? Christopher Columbus called us Indians when he arrived. He said those Indians. The Most High never calls us Indians. Most High never called us niggers, Negroes, blacks, coloreds, African Americans, Moors. He never called us none of that. Nehemiah 2:17, King James Version. Then said I unto them, you see the distress that we are in, how Jerusalem lieth wait, and the gates thereof are burned with fire. Come, let us build up the wall of Jerusalem, that we be no more of reproach. Psalms 44, build up the walls, be who we call to be. So the prayer goes, when the Hamashiach told us to pray like this, he said, Our Father, who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done in earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread. Forgive us our debts, as we forgive our debtors. Lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. For thine is the kingdom, and the power, and the glory, forever and ever. It's his kingdom. But the Hamashiach once said, he said, Father, those you've called in my name, those that you've given me, I've kept them in your name. Therefore, those who you've given me, they are thine, and then they also are mine, and then said, thy will be done. He said, we're his. He said, he's in the Father, and we're in the Son, and then we're all one. So thine, we are the thine. This is going to be in the kingdom. It's going to be our kingdom forever and ever and ever, under the headship of the Hamashiach, and the Father to be the glory, with all things going to be like it should be. He's the head of all things. We're one if we keep his commandments. Psalms 44:13-14. Thou makest us a reproach to our neighbors, a scorn and a derision to them that are round about us. Thou makest us a byword among the heathen. And in this term we read before in the Zonder Context Bible Dictionary, the heathens are basically non-Israelites, or those Israelites that have been Hellenized, who don't know who we are, or don't know who they don't know who they are. And that's what the Hamashiach said, I've come not except for the lost tribe of the house of Israel, so I can make them know who they are, and they can come back into the fold. Deuteronomy 6:4-5. Hear, O Israel, the Yah of Ilo is one Yah, and thou shalt love Yah thy Elo with all thine heart, with all thy soul, and with all thy might. Mark 12:29-30. And I'm just gonna read it. Sometimes I'll say Jesus, sometimes I won't, because that's how I just wrote it, like I saw it at the time. It said, and Jesus answered him, the first of all the commandments is, Hear, O Israel, Yah our Elo is one Yah, and thou shalt love Yah thy Elo with all thy heart and with all thy soul. But one thing for certain though, I'm not talking about Caesar Borgia or no false idol. I'm not talking about no false idol, no false God. I'm talking about as they say, the Israelite Christ, the one with the hair like wool, and the skin is brass, burnt in the fire. That one, the one that the scriptures has said. Whenever I speak, thy heart with all thy soul, and with all thy mind, and with all thy strength. This is the first commandment. Matthew 22:36-40. Master, which is the greatest commandment in the law? In the law, Jesus said unto him, Thou shalt love Yah with all Yah thy Elo with all thy heart, and with all thy soul, and with all thy mind. This is the first and great commandment. And the second is like unto it, Thou shalt love thy neighbor as thyself. On these two commandments hang all the law and the prophets. Matthew 12:46-50. While he yet talked to the people, behold, his mother. See, this is he breaks it down. He breaks it down even clearer. It's not just good enough to be an Israelite because by bloodline, because you are. It's your heritage, but you got to claim it by keeping his commandments. Act like a son and a daughter. And if you mess up, you have one who has brought grace unto you that you can ask for forgiveness. But he's not mocked. You can't just play with him. You don't play with this one. This ain't the one that they told you about in Sunday school. This is the real Yah. Matthew 12:46-50. While he yet talked to the people, behold, his mother and his brethren stood without, desiring to speak with him, hear the message that is being taught here. Then one said unto him, Behold, thy mother and thy brother stand without, desiring to speak with thee. But he answered and said to them, but he answered and said to him that told him, Who is my mother and who are my brother? And he stretched forth his hand towards his disciples and said, Behold, my mother and my brother. For whoever shall do the will of my Father which is in heaven, the same is my brother and sister and mother. So he broke it down. He broke it down to the very last compound, as they say. So we gotta get to the point where we're keeping his commandments. And when I talk, and when I share information, whether you think I'm teaching or wherever I'm doing, I'm not here to judge you. I'm here that we can all get together and be better by the word. That's my purpose. Not to bring you down, because I need you to lift me up too. I pray for you every day. You Israelites, I pray for you every day. I pray for you every day, you strangers who are among us that may come into the kingdom by the will of Yah. Pray for you every day. Matthew 6:9-13. After this manner, therefore, pray ye, Our Father, which art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come. Pray for the kingdom to come. Thy will be done in earth. How do you do his will? Keep his law, statutes, and commandments. As it is in heaven. They keep it in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread. What is our daily bread? The word, the Hamashiach, the one that's going to lead us to the way, to the truth, and to life. And forgive us our debts. Forgive us for breaking your law, statutes, and commandments in the past, as we forgive our debtors. And lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. For thine is the kingdom, and the power, and the glory forever. Amen. John 6:35. And Jesus said unto them, I am the bread of life, and he that cometh to me shall never hunger, and he that believeth on me shall never thirst. John 6:48-51. I am that bread of life. Your fathers did eat manna in the wilderness and are dead. This is the bread which cometh down from heaven, that a man may eat thereof and not die. So we eat of his word and believe on him as the scriptures has said, and believe on him, because he said, you believe in the Father, believe also in me, because the Father sent me for this purpose. Yahushua Mashiach said, if you believe on me, you should never die. He is that bread of life. I am the living bread, which came down from heaven. If any man eat of this bread, he shall live forever. And the bread which cometh down from heaven, if any man eat this bread, he shall live forever. And the bread that is given, and the bread that I will give, is my flesh. Which I will give for the life of the world. John 1:11-14. He came unto his own, and his own received him not. But as many as received him, to them he gave power to become the sons of Elo, even to them that believe on his name, which were born not of blood, nor of the will of flesh, nor of the will of man, but of Elo. And the word was made flesh. So he gave his flesh. He said he gave his flesh. So when he was made flesh, he came down for that purpose, to give that flesh for us, and dwelt among us, his family. And we beheld his glory, the glory as the only begotten of the Father, full of grace and truth. John 1:17. For the law was given by Moses, but grace and truth came by Jesus Christ, or Yahushua Mashiach, or whatever you call him. Matthew, well, I ain't gonna say whatever you call him, because there are some people that's ignorant. Whatever you call him, that is true. Matthew 15:24. But he answered and said, I am not sent but unto the lost sheep of the house of Israel. Matthew 10:5-6. These 12 Jesus sent forth and commanded them, saying, go not into the way of the Gentiles, and into any city of the Samaritans enter ye not, but go rather to the lost sheep of the house of Israel. That's what we're talking about today when we get into this book. John 10:16-18. And other sheep I have, which are not of this fold, them also I must bring, and they shall hear my voice. And there shall be one fold and one shepherd. See, talking about these same people here in this book. That's us. Therefore does my Father love me, because I lay down my life, that I might take it again. See, we also have Judah and everybody here as well on this side right now. Now we have Judah all around. All the tribes are spread everywhere. But today we're talking about the 10 tribes of Israel that are here in these Americas. And this is John 10:16-18. And other sheep I have, which are not of this fold, them also I must bring, and they shall hear my voice, and there shall be one fold and one shepherd. Therefore does my Father love me, because I lay down my life, that I may take it again. No man taketh it from me, but I lay it down of myself. I have power to lay it down, and I have power to take it again. This commandment have I received of my Father. John 17:10-19. And all mine are thine, and thine are mine, and I am glorified in them. See, he gonna glorify us, and that glorifies him. And now am I no more in the world, but these are in the world, and I come to thee, Holy Father. Keep through thine own name those whom who thou hast given me, that they may be one as we are. While I was with them in thy name, those that gavest me I have kept, and none of them is lost, but the son of perdition. That thou gavest me I have kept, and none of them is lost, but the son of perdition, that the scriptures might be fulfilled. And now come I to thee, and these things I speak in the world, that they might have my joy fulfilled in themselves. So he's already finished it. He's at the right hand of the Father, full of joy. So he's preparing us that we might have that same joy in ourselves. He's the firstborn of many brethren. I have given them thy word. The world has hated them because they are not of the world, even as I am not of this world. I pray not that thou shouldest take them out of the world, but thou shouldst keep them from the evil. They are not of this world, even as I am not of the world. Sanctify them through thy truth. Thy word is truth. Thou hast sent me into the world. Even so, I also sent them into the world. And for their sakes I sanctify myself, that they might be sanctified through the truth. John 17:21-23. That they all may be one, as thou, Father, art in me, and I in thee, they also may be one in us, that the world may believe that thou hast sent me. And the glory which thou gavest me, I have given them, that they may be one, even as we are one. I in them, and thou in me, that they may be made perfect in one, and that the world may know that thou hast sent me and has loved them as thou hast loved me. 2 Chronicles 7:14-16. If my people, which are called by my name, shall humble themselves and pray and seek my face and turn from their wicked ways, then will I hear from heaven and will forgive their sin and will heal their land. Now my eyes shall be open and mine ear attent unto the prayer that is made in this place. For now I have chosen and sanctified this house, that my name may be there forever, and mine eyes and mine heart shall be there perpetually. It's talking about the whole house of Israel. That's why he sent us. He came, but not for the lost tribe of the house of Israel. Now those who have been awakened, it's our job to make sure our brothers wake up. He's given us the power to do it. For his word is the truth. And sisters, I ain't forgot about you. I'm talking about, I can hear a sister saying, well, say it like that then. Well, okay, sisters. You too. All right. Deuteronomy 28:37. And thou shalt become an astonishment, a proverb, and a byword among all nations, whither Yah shall lead thee. 1 Kings 9:6-7. But if you shall at all turn from following me, ye or your children, and will not keep my commandments and my statutes, which I have set before you, but go and serve other gods and worship them, then will I cut off Israel out of the land which I have given them, and this house, which I have hallowed for my name, will I cast out of my sight, and Israel shall be a proverb and a byword among all people. 2 Chronicles 7:20. Then will I pluck them up by the roots of my land which I have given them, and this house which I have sanctified for my name will I cast out of my sight, and will make it a proverb and a byword among all nations. Jeremiah 24:9. And I will deliver them to be removed into all the kingdoms of the earth for their hurt, to be a reproach and a proverb, a taunt, and a curse in all the places whither I shall drive them. Isaiah 11:12. And he shall set up an ensign for the nations, and shall assemble the outcasts of Israel, and gather together the dispersed of Judah, and from the four corners of the earth. Webster's 1828 dictionary, American, adjective pertaining to the America. I spoke about this in times past, as many others have had, but what I'm saying, all these truths add up and establish the truth, which is he's showing us the way. He said he's the way. Once all this established is the truth, eventually we're going to get the life out of it. And then that's when then other nations, like he said, he should make the synagogue of Satan to bow down before us. Because what they're going to do is the truth is the truth. And other nations, other righteous nations, gonna make them do the same, because they say, you've been lying to all of us all this time. Them are the people, which our blessings come from. So you stopping our blessings. American, adjective pertaining to America. American, noun, a native of America. Originally applied. Okay, who that sound like? That sound like Indians, huh? Bywords. Originally applied to the Aboriginals or the copper-colored races found here by the Europeans, but now applied to the descendants of Europeans born in America. Native, noun, one born in any place is said to be a native of that place, whether country, city, town, offspring, aboriginal. See origin. First original primitive aboriginal people are the first inhabitants of a country. Aboriginal tribes of America. Aboriginal, objective, and original are primitive inhabitant. The first settlers in a country are called aboriginals, as the Celts in Europe and the Indians in America. Origin, noun. The first existence or beginning of anything, as the origin of Rome. In history, it is necessary, if practicable, to trace all events to their origin. Fountain, source, cause, that from which anything primarily proceeds, that which gives existence or beginning. So we're the beginning. We're all things comes from us. The apostasy is believed to have been the origin of moral evil. The origin of many of our customs is lost in antiquity. Nations, they say it's important to know your origin. This is what the dictionary says, 1828. Nations, like individuals, are ambitious to trace their descent from an honorable origin. So this is how I found out, because some people used to always tell me, because I'm seeking, right? Just like the rest of us. And as I says, I know better, I do better. So I said, no, you're a Moor. First of all, they said, no, you're an Indian. Then I found out, I said that Christopher Columbus calls us that, so it got to be a better word or a better origin. Then I found out, now you're a Moor, and the Moors are known for doing great things. So, well, maybe I'm a Moor. Then I looked into the root story. But then I come to find out, as I'm going to read to you in a little while, that the Romans created that name Moor. He said they created the name Moor because of their dark skin. They called them Moors. But then when I find out about the scriptures telling us, say the Israelites are the children of the Most High, so I'm an Israelite. That's just a fact. It said right here in the definition, nations, like individuals, are ambitious to trace their descent from an honorable origin. So the most honorable origin you can have is to being the son of the Most High Yahweh when he called you an Israelite. So there's no more honorable origin than that. So I don't have to put down all these different titles. I can say I'm an Israelite because it covers all of these. Bywords. Indian, now a general name of any native of the Indies, as an East Indian or West Indian, it is particularly applied to a native of the American continent. Moor, noun, dark, obscure, a native of northern coast of Africa called by the Romans from the color of the people. Mauritania, the country of dark complexion people. The same country is now called Morocco, Tunis, Algiers, etc. Hebrew of the Hebrews. I gave these definitions before in another video, but this time I just used the definitions they provided in the 1828 dictionary, which is actually a good source because also if you use the 1828 Bible dictionary, you can also it'll take you to what's the thing called it'll take you to different words that'll also bring up biblical explanations and things. So it's a pretty good source as well. Hebrew of the Hebrews, one whose parents are both Hebrews. Philippians 3 and 5, 2 Corinthians 11:22, or in this case, I'll leave it alone. One whose parents are both Hebrews, Philippians 3 and 5, 2 Corinthians 11:22, a genuine Hebrew. Philippians 3 and 5, circumcised the 8th day of the stock of Israel, of the tribe of Benjamin, an Hebrew of the Hebrew, as touching the law, of a Pharisee. That was Paul's description. 2 Corinthians 11:22. Are they Hebrews? So am I. This is Paul again. Are they Israelites? So am I. Are they of the seed of Abraham? So am I. Hebrew. Now, Hebrew, Eber, either a proper name or a name denoting passage, pilgrimage, or coming beyond the Euphrates. One of the descendants of Eber or Heber, but particularly a descendant of Jacob, who was a descendant of Eber, an Israelite, a Jew. Hebrews, Acts 6 and 1. Whether Hebrews speaking Jews, as distinguished from those who speak Greek, basically, yes, when you got into the Hellenized Jews or Israelites, those who don't really know who they are. Greek, found only in the New Testament where a distinction is observed between Greek and Grecian. The former is one, a Greek by race, Acts 16, 1 through 3, 18 and 17, Romans 1 through 14, or 2, a Gentile as opposed to a Jew, Romans 2 and 9 and 10. The latter meaning properly, one who speaks Greek is a foreign Jew, opposed to a home Jew who dwelt in Palestine. The word Grecian in Acts 11 and 20 should be Greeks, denoting the heathen Greeks of that city as rendered in Revised Version according to the reading of the best manuscripts, Hellenists. All right, let me get into the book. Like I said, I'm going to try to read as much as I can. And then if not, I'll make another video. Preface. Many years ago, the attention of the compiler of the following pages was first called to the subject by hearing a lecture delivered by a highly educated Cherokee Indian on the manners and customs of the various Indian tribes of North America. During the course of his remarks, he stated that when he came to study the Hebrew language, he was astonished to find so much of his own language that was pure Hebrew. And after enumerating the various words of his own language that were Hebrew, he found them exceed 50. And said we were taught this by our ancestors, and they received it from their Hebrew ancestors, the 10 tribes. And furthermore, he stated that he was firmly convinced that the Indian tribes of North America were descendants of the 10 tribes of Israel, as he was of any other fact. This statement induced us to examine the history of this question. We have found many facts corroborating the testimony of the red man of the forest. And see, this brings up another question. See, they interact so many different words that it's confusing, or can be if you, but it leaves leeway to open up other areas. Like for instance, if you, I looked up the red Crayola that they used to present. The red Crayola is basically dark brown. And then you have ruddy. That can also be red, dark brown, or in some cases it can be like red fox, Malcolm X. Then you have I looked up red bone just to see what came up, and it came up with some light skinned, beautiful Israelite women. But only thing, they was clantly dressed, so I didn't use it. And then some people say that red represents the Caucasian man. So there's several ways you can use this, but in this case right here, we already found out that we're talking about the copper-colored people that was of the Americas, the original people that came here, the 10 tribes of Israel, and then later the ones that came on ships. And then that's another issue that many people have proven that maybe they didn't tell the story right. Maybe people came from here and was taken other places. So just so much information is being brought out that we have to consider and really look at. It says, though differing from some other writers on this subject, we have the testimony of a number of the most eminent men of America to sustain our position. The author. The 10 tribes. So the following is taken from Apocrypha, 2 Esdras 13, if I'm saying it right, because it's a Roman numeral, 40 and 45, to show when the 10 tribes left the eastern country to come to a land not inhabited by man. These are the 10 tribes which were carried away prisoners out of their own land in the time of Hosea the king, whom Salmanessar, the king of Assyria, led away captive, and he carried them over the waters. And so came they into another land, but they took counsel among themselves that they will leave the multitude of the heathens and go forth into a further country where never man dwelt. See, and you probably been on the internet and you saw where they made a movie where in the movie Columbus had basically told their king, according to second Esdras, that these people were already over there, and that's where they went. The movie said that. So they know, for through that country there was a great way to go, namely a year and a half, and the same region is called Ashereth. Now, it said, now what are we to learn from the foregoing history? First, we're taught that they understood the geography of the country and the distance they must travel in order to get to this land where no man dwelt. And second, that there was no country in the east, but was more or less inhabited by man. And consequently, America was the only country at the time known that was not inhabited. Page 2. The following is from J.J. Mombert's History of Lancaster County, Pennsylvania, page 68, being an extract from a letter written by William Penn to the Committee of the Free Society of Traders in London, England, 1683. He states of the origin of the North American Indian, I am ready to believe them of the Jewish race. I mean of the stock of the 10 tribes. All right, let's see. Let me see. Did I skip that? See what Webster said about that. Just make sure I didn't skip it. Because it's all adding up. It's all adding up. All right, yeah, that's 1820 Webster Dictionary about race. It says the lineage of a family or a continued series of descendants from a parent who is called the stock. First, he talked about Eber, then Abraham, and on down the line, that's a stock. A race is the series of a descendant indefinitely. So this never changed. This race is not somebody you can. If you're not from that family, you're not from that family. A race is the series of descendants indefinitely. So the descendants of those written in the scriptures stays the same all the way down to now. We're those people. And it's not a religion. This ain't nothing that you can come into, because this is a natural family. You can you can claim people. So that's my cousin, but you're not really cousins. But a race is the series of descendants indefinitely. Then it breaks it down. Thus, all mankind are called the race of Adam. See how they separate it? These are the other nations. Then it separates Israel. The Israelites are the stock, are the race of Abraham. And then remember, Abraham had many children. But then he talks about the seed. Because out of Abraham's, all of his children is still a seed that the Most High only counts. The Israelites are of the race of Abraham and Jacob. See, that's the seed. Thus we speak of a race of kings, the race of Clovis or Charlemagne, a race of nobles, etc. Okay, let me continue. I am ready to believe them of the Jewish race. I mean of the stock of the 10 tribes, and that for the following reason. First, they were to go to a land not planted or known, which, to be sure, Asia and Africa were, if not Europe, and he that intended that extraordinary judgment upon them might make the passage not uneasy unto them, as it is not impossible in itself from the easternmost part of Asia to the westernmost part of America. In the next place, I find them of the like continents, and their children of so lively resemblance that a man would think himself in Duke's Place or Berry Street, London, when he seeth them. But this is not all. They agree in rites. They reckon my moons. They offer their first fruits. They have a kind of feast of tabernacle. They are said to lay their altar upon the 12 stones, their mourning a year customs of women, with many other things that do not now occur. So Reverend James S. Milligan writes from Argyle, New York, May 13th, 1853, to a friend of Allegheny, Pennsylvania, having in my possession a very curious relic, or facsimile of a relic, of that ancient nation, the Jews. I take liberty of addressing you in reference to it, in order that I and others may have the benefits of your opinion concerning it. That to which I refer is a facsimile in block 10 of silver coin found last summer in Michigan, about 20 miles from Detroit, 2 feet under the surface of the earth. The coin is about the size of an American half dollar. So not so great in circumference, but thicker. Circumference, I mean, but thicker. On one side is represented a censer with smoking incense with a Hebrew inscription, Jewish shekel. On the other also is a Hebrew inscription, the Holy Jerusalem, with a representation of an olive tree or perhaps palm tree. The original piece is found in the possession of Dr. Duffield, Detroit. It is not more than possible that this shekel of Israel was lost by Indians, and is not other evidence that they are descendants of the 12, and it is not another evidence that they are descendants of the 10 tribes. So that's another piece of evidence. Here follows the remarks of his friend. The relic is plainly Israelitish. In the last place I've seen that word relatish, if you go to the what's that dictionary, the online etymology dictionary, they explain, they basically tell you look up Israeli, and then once you read Israeli, it tells you now go to the word is Israelite for contrast and comparison. So you should do the same. And then you on the Israelite, you'll find this word Israelitish. The facsimile represents accurately the silver shekel of Israel. It was worth 50 cents of our money. Our silver half dollar is nearly a half ounce of borderpuss. The shekel of Israel was known in Persia. It is mentioned in Xenophon's Anabasis, the relic having been discovered in Michigan, 20 miles west of Detroit, 2 feet underground. It must have been left there before the discovery of America by Columbus. Who could have left it there but one of the 10 tribes? If that be true, as Dr. Duffield supposed. It disposes the theory of some learned men respecting the Hebrew alphabet, that it is Babylonian, brought back as the return of the captives under Cyrus, and that the letters are not those given by Yah. Well, I'm so used to saying Yah. They wrote God. I'll just read what they say. Given by God to Moses of Herod. It is the theory, however, of most modern Hebrew critics, as many been seen in the grammar Jenkins, from whom Professor Stewart of Andover Seminary derives it, and gives it in his Hebrew grammar. Those critics maintain that the ancient Hebrew alphabet is now found in the Samaritan. I have long maintained that this is a false theory. The Hebrew letter found engraven in the top rock at Ticonderoga, the sheens found in Georgia, and the inscription on the shekel are evidence that those were taken by Shalmaneser in the region of Hosea at least 721 years before Christ. And of course, they had been carried into Babylon before the reign of Jeconius used the present form of Hebrew letter. Reverend J. Dodds, pastor of the congregation of Western Pennsylvania, and who takes in the interest of the Hebrew language, tells me that there are inscriptions in the ruins of the city of Palenque in Central America that seems to confirm Dr. Boudinot's theory taught in his Star in the West. The compiler of this volume consulted in Jewish priests relating to those Hebrew words on the coin described above, and he gave the translation as we have given it. Reverend J.R. Wilson, D.D., a learned Hebrew scholar writing in 1853 on Hebrew antiquities, gives the following. There are very learned works on Grecian and Latin antiquities. These are much used in schools. There are also very elaborate volumes on the antiquities of the Jews, such as Ross Archaeologia, and Lewis Hebrew Antiquities. These works have fallen into disuse for nearly 150 years. They have all been intended to illustrate the ancient habits, manners, and usages of the south and of India after the cession of the 10 tribes. There has been very little inquiry after remnants of the 10 tribes since they were carried away by Salmanassar in the reign of Hezekiah more than 650 years before Christ. We have, however, great and precious promises to all the seed of Jacob, yet to be fulfilled. Psalms, what is this? Man, I'm not gonna read that. It's I can read it, but it's breaking down these Roman numerals, and so I'll continue instead of trying to focus on trying to break it down. He gathered together the outcasts of Israel, Isaiah, let's see, 11 and 2, 12. And he shall set up an ensign for the nations and shall assemble the outcasts of Israel and gather together the dispersed of Judah from the four corners of the earth. Here the 10 tribes of outcasts are distinguished from the dispersed of Judah. That promise has never been fulfilled. But where are they? That they will be found does not admit any reasonable doubt. In this age, when men run to and fro and knowledge of all kind is increased, these lone outcasts of Israel will no doubt be found. They have increased. Okay, let's see. There have been various conjectures as to where they are. Some of them seem probable, but none upon the whole very satisfactory. One theory of late has been held and brought before the public, accompanied with arguments which render it, and as many think, almost certain. Dr. Elias Bondanot, of New Jersey, the first president of the American Bible Society, published an Octavia volume, which he called The Star of the West. The name was suggested to the doctor by Leonard, work of the Christian Traveler, in the book called The Star of the East, a very interesting work in which he states that he found that the south of Asia numerous descendants of the 10 tribes, the star in the west, ought to be read by every friend of Israel, of God. The readers of your publication will be interested by a statement of a few arguments in support of Dr. Bondiant's theory. And what I'm finding here, because all of the information has established that we are indeed those Israelites that's written in the book, even if people have a biased approach by them telling their truth, all the evidence that they provide, even though they meant it for evil, I'm not saying that's what they're doing, but once the truth, the light is shined on it, there's so much evidence now that's pointed out that we are the people. Even their information supports that we are the people, even though they didn't mean it to be that. I'm not saying that's what this is, but and I hope you can you understand what I'm saying. So what I'm going to do, y'all willing, I'm going to go ahead and I'll continue, y'all willing, tomorrow, and I'll do a part 2 because it's getting interesting. So until then, shalom.